Hey guys, welcome back to Post Frame 360. I'm your host, Josh Nolan, and I've got a special guest with me here today, Mike Keane. Some of you may know Mike. He's one of the sales reps at Burroughs Post Frame Supply. Mike's been with us for a little while now and getting to know his customers real well. And we thought it'd be a fun time to get together on here and do a little podcast together. Mike, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me on here. I've obviously, like you said, been on now for a little over a year and a half, and I really feel like we've been able to grow some things and, like you said, get to know some people, and hopefully, I'm able to share a little bit of what I've taken from my time here at Burroughs as well as my time before that to hopefully add some value.
So the listeners that haven't met you, maybe they're at Sean's territory or Brian's, or maybe they're not a customer of ours at all yet. But tell them a little bit about your past. Where's Mike from?
Absolutely. So I'm from here in Oklahoma, not born and raised, but mostly raised here most of my life. Been in the post frame industry most of my life as well. My dad owned a company since I was in really middle school. I kind of came in a little bit here and there, worked in the lumber yard for some years. Through high school, worked in the lumber yard as well, went off to school for a little bit, came back, and then basically put about just over 19 years into the inside part of the business. I was never a builder, but I did a little bit of everything from administrative assistant, sales assistant, sales, production management, project management, and really anywhere that they had a need. That was kind of really I was the flow guy, right? So wherever we had a need, I was sent there to fix that issue and handle it. And so it really gave me very good visibility into the post frame industry as a whole. That's what I tell people all the time. It's like, I was here and I've done a bit of everything except actually put the nails and screws in the building because there's better people for that.
There's a lot of people listening right now that are like, "Hey, come on out, Mike. We'll show you. We'll let you put some screws in a building or nail some boards
And
off
and I've
for it."
and I've done some. It's just there's better people out there. We've all got our fit.
So you mentioned working for your dad for a while. We all know that can have its challenges, but funny story for our listeners that I met your dad a long time before I met you, and you're right. He was involved in the industry, and he started the Heartland chapter of the NFBA, which our listeners know I'm very involved in the NFBA, and I'll never forget the first time that I did meet you at an event, and your dad introduced me as, and this is my son Mike, and I'm like, what? Because your dad didn't look old enough to have a son with a beard like that, you
Well, he
know?
can't grow a beard like this, so it's okay.
It's like it kinda reminds me of me and my son, we're the exact same way. I can't grow a beard, but he can. He's got a beard, and same thing. We'll be at the golf course together, and I'll be like, "Who's that? Your son?" "Yeah, that's my son."
Well, he can grow hair on his head, and I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah, so that's awesome. No, that's good history in the post frame business, although you haven't been out and swinging hammers, you've still had a lot of good experience, and we knew that bringing you into Burroughs, and you have a lot of good relationships out there, and so yeah, good to have you here. So we're going to talk today about sales tips for builders, and there are some builders out there that actually came into the business on the crew side of things, came up through the ranks, maybe decided somewhere along the way to start their own business, and then all of a sudden realized I've got to sell things now for a living because I'm not just building anymore. I have to sell too. So, we thought Mike actually came up with the idea to talk about sales tips for builders, and I thought that was a great topic. So, do you have one one tip to kick us off here, kick off the conversation?
I would say my main thing is, and it's going to sound really common sense, but it's really not, is, you want to build trust with them. That's first and foremost with everything. Nobody wants to be sold something. They want to buy from somebody that they can trust. So when we think of sales, a lot of times, what is the first thing you think of when I say, "Hey, I'm in sales"? Oh, I think of a car salesman. Nobody likes dealing with a car salesman. I don't like dealing with car salesmen. Any car salesman out there, no offense, it's a stigma that comes with it, right?
It is.
Because a lot of times they feel that they're trying to be swindled into something. And
Mhm.
that's not what we're here for. As you know, obviously I do sales here for boroughs, and that's not what I try to do to the builders that I'm trying to sell to. But when I was in their shoes, that's not what I was trying to do either. I'm trying to figure out how I can solve your problem, right? That's what we are. We're problem solvers. If you want a building built, you've got a reason for it. And they're not always forthcoming with that. They may call you and say, "Hey, I want a 40 by 60 by 18, two doors, whatever." And there's plenty of guys that I know that'll just, okay, I'll get that to you. We'll get it priced out to you. You're leaving a lot on the table. You're leaving
Mhm.
a lot on the table as far as building that customer relationship and trust. And there's money on the table there too, because there's any number of things that could go into this building that I can help solve your problem, because people are going to pay you to solve their problems.
Mhm.
So that's the thing. That's probably the biggest takeaway that we'll probably go through today is learn how to solve those problems. Be a problem solver. And because yeah, they're again, this is their dream. They've been saving for
Yeah.
this. They've been preparing for this. Most people don't wake up one day and say, "Man, I want to build a shop. I want to build a barn. I want to build it's there's a reason for it, and it's to figure out what that is."
Our builders, they're comfortable in the field, right? That's what they do. They build things. They're
Mhm.
probably not as comfortable sitting at somebody's dinner table, going through the quoting process. So one thing I could say, a sales tip along the line of building trust is, when you show up, and I would highly suggest showing up, right? Don't just give it out over the phone. Get, like you said, Mike, get in front of them, knock on their door, have an appointment set, show up at the house. They're going to answer the door. Leave your backpack, leave your computer in the truck. Don't get it out yet. Your iPad, whatever you're using, just leave it in the truck. Go up there. I would suggest having some flags, to stake out the four corners of the building and a tape measure, and shake their hand, introduce yourself, and say, "Hey, come on outside. Show me where you want to put your building." Right. So then you walk out there together and you're small talk the whole time. What you're doing is you're building that relationship. You're building that trust in an environment where you're comfortable outside, you know, and
Mhm.
talk and shop about a building. So take them out there. Let them tell you where they think they want it. Okay, let's just measure this out. Flag it out. Flag the corners. Talk about the doors. The whole time you're building relationship and you're finding out what they want, right?
Mhm.
And so, I wouldn't probably take it as far as getting a transit out on that first visit, but at least throw some flags out. You can have a sketchbook, sketch something up, make sure you understand what they want. And by the time you actually walk back in the house, they're probably going to offer you a glass of iced tea or something to drink. And they're going to feel comfortable with you sitting at their table, and you're going to feel comfortable sitting at their table with them, you know? And so I think that's one of the best tips I can throw out there for building trust and just getting that awkwardness of that very first interaction out of your way. And I think just taking that time, it'd be like 30 minutes really well spent. So
Mhm.
that when you do go in, now you already know what they want. Now, if you want to open up the computer, bust out Smart Build, start designing it, getting ready for a quote, then let's go that way.
Yeah, Josh, I think you hit it on the head there. I really like the clean approach. I don't want to come in. I mean, if I go see any of my guys, I'm not just dragging a backpack in. I'm not, fumbling around with a bunch of stuff. I want to go in and meet with you first. I want to come in and talk with you. And I'm not going to presume I'm going to get your time, which in this case, usually you'll have an appointment set up. You're not just going to usually knock on people's doors. I've done it. I'm sure you've done it. But yeah, so I'm going to be empty-handed. I want to shake your hand. I want to meet you. I want to look you in the eyes and be ready. Another thing, kind of like you mentioned, having your flags, just having things that are available that maybe aren't in your hands but are easily accessible. I'm 100% in, and people that know me may laugh because if you see me at work versus not at work, I'm dressed two totally different ways. However, when you are on somebody's job site or meeting face to face, how you look matters. Josh, before we got on this podcast, I had on a decent shirt, but what did I do? I came and put
Yeah.
on my Burrow shirt
Hmm.
because I want to look professional.
Hmm.
Again, a lot of times builders may say, "Hey, that doesn't matter. I'm a builder. I'm the same guy building is the same guy giving you the quote is the same guy selling it to you. That's me." And maybe 90% of the time, 80% of the time that works. But you're going to get those clients that are looking for a little bit more. So when you're going after those clients, be presentable. Don't come kicking your muddy boots off on their doorstep as they're answering the door. Look good, sell good, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's how I feel a lot about it. But no, I think you really hit the nail on the head. Having everything there with you, but it doesn't have to be on you on that first introduction.
Yeah, and you can even get little flags made with your logo on them too.
100%.
Your
Branding
yeah,
is
branding
huge.
yourself there, and so I love the idea. Definitely got to show up. Don't leave the job site at 3:30 to go meet someone at 4:30 and show up, with mud all over you and grease under your fingernails. I mean, you gotta, maybe you are, maybe you have to do that, whatever, but, try to get presentable, slap on some deodorant, throw on a nice polo at least. Your jeans are going to look dirty and they're going to probably appreciate the fact you came off of a job site. People do, like to your point earlier of a car salesman, people would rather probably talk to the builder than a salesman anyway. So, you're just gonna walk the line of like, building that trust and becoming that advisor, that trusted advisor, so that you're taking the time to come out, meet face to face. You're gaining that trust. They're gonna remember you. You're taking the time to find out what they really want so that you're building out a quote for them that includes the overhangs and the Y bracing on the porch poles and stuff like that, to where the guy that they called for a price that just called and got the basic information, then sent him a quote, and you've got to take the time so that when they see that other quote and you call to follow up with them a week later and they say, well, we're kind of hung up. We might actually end up going with this other company because they're like 3 grand cheaper and we're on a budget. And then it's like, we talked about budget. We talked about what you wanted. And at that point, they like, again, you had the FaceTime, you built trust. They believe in you. They haven't even met the other guy yet. And so likely you can have them send you the quote and marry it up and see, oh, they didn't put the overhangs on here. You told me you wanted, yeah, you told me you wanted overhangs. So look, if I take off overhangs, oh, and they didn't have the thermogard or the insulation on here, if I take that out, now we're dead on. So who would you rather buy from?
Hmm.
Well, I'd
Yeah.
rather buy from you, Mike. Oh, okay. Well, great. Did you want the insulation and the overhangs or
Yeah.
not? Because 'Cause I'm good
What did
either
you actually
way.
want? Yeah, we'll make it work.
Right.
It's what you want. This is your building. Yeah,
I speak from experience. I have literally been down this road a million times,
agreed.
but guess what? That customer is not gonna give you the time of day when you call back if your price is 3 grand more than someone else's and they've never met you. Never met you, never met them. They're just looking at 2 quotes for 30 by 40s, you know? They don't
Which
yeah.
another thing that you just said that kind of triggered one of my other points here. You said they're not going to call you back, or they're not going to answer your call when you call them back. Is you got to call them back too. You got to
Mhm,
follow up with them. That's so huge. I know people that I know companies that builders slash companies that they send them out. They'll blast out through as many as they can. I'm like, I'm follow up with them because I help them out. And I'm like, well, where are we at? Oh, I don't know. I haven't talked to them in a few weeks. What do you mean you haven't talked to them in a few weeks, right? You've got to follow up with these guys. It's again, start to finish, even before you get them a quote, just the communication. That's another big one of mine is the communication is key. Trust, communication, those two things you're not going to sell a building without either one of those.
mhm,
People got
mhm,
to know what they are getting from you personally. So, if you're able to communicate with them in a timely manner of, all right, hey, I met you on your site. I know what you want. Either A, I'm working it up in Smart Build while I'm right here with you, or, maybe you got to get some other stuff together and you're going to get it back to them. But getting that to them quickly and then following up after the fact. I mean, Josh, our sales meetings, how many times do you tell me, hey, when was the last time you talked to so and so? Where are we at with this? If I don't know, I haven't talked to him. Well,
mhm,
I'm not doing my job, am I? So that's
mhm.
part of it too. And a lot of times it's easy to just get busy in the day to day stuff. And I feel like I'm preaching more towards the guys that are in the builder salesman. CEO role themselves, and it's hard. I know that. And I've got nothing negative to say about them, but it's easy to look at one thing that's the easiest to leave out. That's probably costing you pretty big in the end.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and hopefully those guys, and that's who we're speaking to today. The builder that's trying to, juggle sales, right? And help them be more successful in what they're doing, and, just timing wise too. Hopefully you're at a point where you trust your crew to operate for 3 or 4 hours without you being there, right? So you can send them to the project site in the morning and you could say, "Hey, I'll be out there about 10 o'clock because I'm gonna go sell us our next building at
Mhm.
8:30, 9 o'clock. Then I'll put on my work clothes, they'll be in the truck and I'll head in, right?" So, just making the time and following up is very important. Do you have any thoughts on keeping track of everything? I mean,
Josh,
you
you
know,
know I've got thoughts on that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you're building stuff. You got things to do. You're making notes. You're trying to get things done. You made a quote. We're talking follow ups, and you know what's a good tip to maybe help keep organized there?
I believe whenever, a while back, kind of when I first started, we were, we had a sales meeting, and I was kind of going over some things, and we were just talking about all our sorts of things, but I was asking about, CRM, right? Like, how do we keep track of this stuff? I'm kind of putting my own together and done this, but what are we doing? I was still new here. And I think Jeff told me, he said, Mike, you're the first salesperson that's ever asked for a CRM, right? Because I know how my brain works. I'm scatterbrained, I'm ADD, and if something gets me off track, I've got to have something to be able to pull me back in. So there's lots of different free, easy to use CRMs that are out there that may take a little setup, but really just having a database, even if it's in Excel or whatever, a place to log customers that you've talked to day to day. And I mean, make it as simple or as hard as you want. I know plenty of guys that just have it all in a notebook. That's fine too if that works for you. But having a centralized place to keep track of who I talk to, where they're at, how do I get a hold of them, what are they looking for? That's very simple things that you're going to need every day because I know with people I talk to where I'm at now, it's like, all right, I talked to a guy who was I talking to? It was in between phone calls, this, that, and the other. Let me go through my notebook because I mean, hey, yeah, I asked for CRM, and yeah, I know I'm still not the best at logging everything in it, but it's in my notes somewhere, and that's part of the issue. Is in my notes somewhere isn't always handy because, well, is it in this truck? Is it in this truck? Is it in my home office? Is it at the office? Where is it, and why don't I have it in front of me? Keeping everything in one place. We use HubSpot. Obviously, it's a great tool that I can get it on my computer. I can get it on any computer, regardless if it's my work laptop, my personal laptop. And I've got it on both of my phones. So there's no reason that I can't pull up some information. If I'm somewhere and a customer's asking me something, I'm like, hey, let me look at it and find whatever it is. I've got access to it. So something that's easily accessible wherever you're at will save you a lot of time.
Hmm, hmm. Yeah, no, you're spot on, and I think there's two sides to it. I like to write things down, so I'm gonna do that anyway. But I do like to have some technology to remind me. Like you're supposed to be doing this on this day, whether it's even a Google Calendar where hey, I sent, party, you have to just have a process to stay organized. So if you're going to send a quote, I met with this customer this morning. I told them I'd give them a quote this evening. You send that quote. If your process is to follow up on that quote in 5 business days, then go out 5 business days, write in your calendar or log something on Google Calendar or HubSpot to remind you
Or
in
all three
5 days.
sometimes.
Yeah, you need to contact this person and follow up with them, and you just have to have a process. And I've met some very, very, very successful sales reps, people who have been very successful selling buildings for a living that use very little technology, but are very successful and
Hmm.
very on top of everything because they have just a process. And if you
Hmm.
just have this process and every time you follow it the same way, you have nothing to worry about.
Absolutely.
I'm going to put a spin on this conversation. So this is just
Uh-oh.
I think a general rule of thumb when you're just living life, and that is it's extra important if you're a salesperson is just be honest and tell the truth. Okay. If you know a client is on a tight schedule and you know your schedule is 8 weeks out, but they need it in 4 weeks, don't tell them you can do it in 4 weeks to get them signed up on a contract and then not show up on week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7, because you are just going to run your business in the ground if you are going to do that. Right. And I feel like a lot of builders are kind of tell it how it is. I would definitely push that. Like, if you can do it, you can do it. If you can't do it, say, I can't do it. And if you've done your job in the sales process and built the trust and become the trusted advisor and sold them on your quality of products and your workmanship, unless it's like a wedding that's been planned for 3 years and the other builder didn't show up and now they're like last minute trying to find another builder, you can't do it. Don't say you can do it if you can't do it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, clear expectations. Like that's kind of what I started with is building that trust with them 100%. And it's not you're not telling somebody you're not trying to finesse them into something. You want to work with them to solve their problem. And if there's a reason that they need it in that 4 to 6 weeks, either figure it out how you can do it or don't. And just be upfront with that. Now we all know, especially here in Oklahoma, and I know down in Texas, kind of same thing, and really everywhere. I don't know what the weather's going to be like this week. I don't know what's going to be like next week. It's supposed to rain all last week, and we got like 1 day of rain. So like, you just never know. But there's a difference in things changing and you having to adjust, and just telling a customer, "I can be there in 4 to 6 weeks," knowing dang well you're 8 to 12 weeks out. So just
Hmm.
being honest and upfront. Like you said, if you build that rapport with them and you're upfront with them when things happen, then they're going to be understanding most of the time. Some of them won't, but you can only do what you can do. But if you're upfront and honest about everything, they're going to tend to give you a little more slack, a little more leeway.
And who wants to call the customer and say we're running a week behind? There's not a
Mm,
salesperson in the world that wants to make that phone call.
yeah.
However, if you make that phone call and communicate with your customer about it, they may not be happy about it, but they will be happy that you communicated with them rather than just not showing up.
So along those same lines is being honest at that point too. If something slowed you up,
Mhm.
and don't just tell them, "Yeah, we'll be there Friday," just to kick the can down the road and then have to call them again on Friday. Be like, "Well, actually the guys are going to come home for the weekend. They won't be there till next week." It's just continuing continually giving them the information you know. Again, I
Yeah.
get it, things come up, and sometimes that does happen, but don't just delay the inevitable by trying to not make them as mad today and say, "We'll worry about tomorrow's problems tomorrow," when they call me and asking why I'm not.
Yeah, 100%. So I know you've listened to the podcast many times. You know, we try to keep it 25 minutes or so, which it's hard to believe we're already there. We're
That was
we're
quick. That was
bordering
quick.
25 minutes. Yeah, it goes fast. And I feel like we could probably keep going. So, we may have another episode together sometime to if we feel like we need to go deeper in this conversation. But I think I'll wrap it up by saying you have enough on your plate as the builder. We know you're building. We know you're trying to build a good building. We know you're selling. You're trying to figure out how to just run a successful business, how to grow, how to find time to cut the checks for payroll, how to find time to, wait. Oh, and my daughter has a softball game tonight. Oh,
Yeah,
all
we got
these
real
things.
lives too.
The last thing you need to worry about is where you're going to buy all your materials from. And all the listeners know that, or if they don't, I'll just mention it at Burroughs, we offer the complete package. It's like it's Mike's job to make your job as easy as he can for you.
And they don't have to pay me.
I know. It's like, wow, it's
You do,
free.
you do,
It's free.
you
I
do.
know, right?
They don't.
I know. So, just remember boroughs and, and if you don't understand the difference in boroughs, then call, ask, email Mike, email me, or sales at boroughs-supply.com will get to me as well. We appreciate our listeners. Mike, thanks for being on the show today. If you like the show, share it, please. Like, subscribe, share. We appreciate that. And looking forward to seeing you on our next episode. Mike, thanks for being here, buddy.
Appreciate you.
See you guys.